All right, so this is just a quick video to introduce the fact that we are going to record the Pennsylvania Board of Pardons commutation hearings for today and keep them available. A commutation hearing is basically a Board of Pardons review of somebody who is incarcerated. For people that are not incarcerated, they would ask for either a pardon or clemency, but incarcerated individuals have to ask for a commutation. I believe the review process is going to be the same, basically examining the explanation for why the crime occurred. And I guess if you're out, you would explain what you've done with your life that makes you a good candidate. If you're incarcerated, you're going to be accepting responsibility for what happened and explaining all the good things you've done, why you're incarcerated and why you should be released. So that's what I think we're going to hear at today's Pennsylvania Board of Pardons commutation hearings. If you leave questions, we will circle back to them, but we don't intend to live stream. We will just be checking in to see if there's questions. And that's that. Thank you.
If you wish to have an agenda, it is available on the Board of Pardons website. We will first take up under agenda item 2, what are termed calendar cases. This morning there are 8 calendar cases. There are 3 possible outcomes for these cases. 1, an application is recommended, which means that we are recommending to Governor Shapiro that clemency be granted to an applicant. 2, an application denied, which means that a recommendation for clemency will not be granted at this time. And 3, the board could vote to hold an application under advisement. This is similar to a continuance and could be done for various reasons if the board is not prepared to vote on a case. I want to stress that the ultimate decision to accept or reject the recommendation of this board is solely at the discretion of the governor. In addition, the governor is not required to act on a recommendation within a specific period of time. So with that said, I'll call the first counter case to be heard by the board this morning. Abraham Cruz has been continued. And we're in the public hearing section, so we'll hear from, I think, Joanne Battle on behalf of Wayne Battle.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
So me and my mother's name both is Joanne Battle. Which one are you referring to?
Well, we'll start with you, or you're the daughter, and then we'll go
Yes.
to the mother.
Okay. So, do you guys have any questions for me, or?
I think this is an opportunity for you to tell us what you'd like us to know. I don't believe any members have any specific questions for you.
Okay. So, the only thing I would like for you guys to know is that, even though my dad been incarcerated since I was 3, I am now almost 47. I'll be 47 in 2 months. He's been incarcerated since I was 3 years old. We have always managed to maintain a relationship. Even though he's been incarcerated, I've always known my dad, always had a relationship. He has always had a relationship, a very healthy relationship with my children as well. And like I said, even behind bars, my dad has always been amazing, and he's apologized numerous times of not being here, missing out on, me growing up. And I always tell him, even though you're incarcerated, you've been a better dad to me than I have seen some men be to their children that's out here in the streets with them. So he's always sent cards. He's always, made sure he was encouraging. He was always supportive. He always called and checked on us. We always visited him. It was never a time. He know his grandkids. He know his kids. He know his great grandkids. Very active in all of our lives, and my kids think the world of him, and so do I. And I don't know him when he got incarcerated as far as who he was, but I know me seeing him today and being an adult and talking to my dad over the years, I can definitely see the growth and see the positivity that he can definitely offer to the outside world. So I'm hoping that, that can be accomplished. I'm done.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Madam Secretary, you can take over from here.
Yeah, sorry. You turn my video on. Yes, that is the only speaker that we have logged in from Mr. Battle. So that would be the conclusion of this hearing unless the board has any questions. Oh, could you admit him? I'm sorry, I misunderstood, and we do have an ADA from Philadelphia County who wishes to speak.
Mia Jackson.
Mia Jackson.
You're muted. We can see you, but we just can't hear you.
I'm ADA Mia Jackson. I was assigned to research this case of Mr. Wayne Battle. Do you guys have any particular questions for me about this case or about what I've researched?
I do not.
I don't.
I do not.
Of some of the things that I highlighted in the research I did, that Mr. Battle has had an exemplary record in terms of discipline. He has had one incident since he went into drug rehab in 1988. That was for possession of some cassette tapes and I think a scented oil. Mr. Battle has also had his record when it comes to education. He's taken classes at Villanova, Temple University, and Penn State University. He made dean's lists while he was at Villanova. So that's just one of some of the things I want to highlight in the DA's recommendation of Mr. Battle for clemency.
Thank you, ma'am. Does anybody have any questions?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll just pause for 1 second to allow the new speakers into the room for the hearing for Mr. Stevenson.
Oh, now I can see you.
Ma'am, what hearing are you connect to?
The PA Board of Pardons.
But who's the applicant that you're here for?
Oh, I'm sorry, Wayne Battle.
Okay, are you Miss his wife, Joanne Battle?
Yes.
Excellent. We had actually just moved past that hearing, but since you're here, you're all right. I just want to go ahead and give the board members a chance to ask you any questions that they might have.
Sure.
Good afternoon. I don't have any questions.
I have no questions. Thank you.
I have no questions.
I have no questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have no additional questions for you, ma'am. Thank you for being here today.
You're welcome.
Shelley, what are we doing?
Sorry, so I just sent you a text. We are having trouble connecting the speakers for the next hearing, but we believe that they're almost here.
I think before.
Good afternoon.
Good.
Okay, sorry about the technical difficulties, everyone. For case three, Larry Stevenson. On the line, we have Mr. Stevenson's son, Darren Stevenson,
Yes.
and we should also have CCPM Olinger from SCI Phoenix.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. I don't know. We're just going to jump right in from questions from board members. If there are any, starting with Mrs. Grayson.
Good afternoon. I don't have any questions.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no questions. Thank you.
I have no questions. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you for being here. I just have one question.
Yes.
Can you just confirm that you and your, I guess, your brother have offered to support your father if he's granted a commutation today and or as a part of his release plan?
Yes. If he gets out, he'll be paroled to his niece's house, and then I'm gonna get him a senior apartment once he's able through the parole board to get a senior apartment in the city of Chester. And he has a lot of support, a lot of family, friends. I mean, it's been 50 years and 3 months, so he has a tremendous amount of support. I've been receiving calls all day in anticipation. So I'd like to thank you all for your time and efforts, and hopefully he'll get, granted release this time.
Well, thank you so much for appearing here today. And with that, we'll move on to the next case.
Okay, thank you. You guys have a nice afternoon.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's Newton. So for case 4, Herbert Hardwick, on the line, we will have Samuel Stretton, who is an attorney on behalf of Mr. Hardwick, Sarah Boyette, who is from the Philadelphia County District Attorney's Office, and Dr. Michael Johnson, who is a reentry supporter of Mr. Hardwick.
Good afternoon, Sam Stretton for Mr. Hardwick. I would like to present Dr. Johnson, and then I have a few words since I was Mr. Hardwick's original attorney and have kept up with him ever since. May I present Dr. Johnson?
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Sam. Dr. Michael Johnson. I'm a physician here in Philadelphia and South Philadelphia. And I have with me my pastor, James Lovett, and I have his Mr. Hardwick's daughter, Taikia, and his grandson, Malik. And we are all here at our clinic to be present at this meeting.
Dr. Johnson, tell us about the changes of Mr. Hardwick and his, wonderful work with compassionate release people in the prison, and his devotion to his Christian religion?
Well, I met Mr. Hardwick over 10, maybe 12 years ago in our frequent visits to then the Greatersford prison. And during that time, we enjoyed talking with him, mostly because of his honesty, his openness, and his jovialness. He was the kind of guy that didn't try to hide the fact that he knew he had done something wrong, and he was willing to use that experience to encourage us as we visited him, which is an amazing thing. You go there to visit him, and he's encouraging you, encouraging us. Our men from our church would go there, and he would do things that would encourage us. We'd leave there feeling good, having visited him. He would tell us also of the challenges he met caring for his fellow inmates who were sick and dying. And he exhibited a compassion as he told us how he was able to provide their care and very frequently their terminal care for as their life came to, a lonely, not just an end, but a lonely end, and how he would take care of their wounds, how he would take care of their colostomy bags, how he would sit with them and hold their hands and help them and encourage them because they were lonely. They didn't have other people that would come and visit them. In addition, Herbert has helped us here at Miriam, our clinic here in Miriam. Well, this is a volunteer clinic. We provide care for people that don't have health care. And we provide care for people that are sent our way, such as the ones that Herbert sent our way, men who have been released and need care, but also by way of extension, our church gets involved in their lives and in the lives of their families. So we've been able to, and that's why we have Takia here and Malik. We have them here today because that's an extension of what Herbert has done. So he's not only impacted the lives of those that are incarcerated with him, but he's had a domino effect, as it were, to the lives of the people that are out. Not just those who are incarcerated, but also to the families of those who suffer as their loved ones are incarcerated.
Dr. Johnson, is Mr. Hardwick ready to and able to accept the responsibility, if he's released, of acting as a good citizen if he's given that privilege?
I have felt that he's been ready for some years, actually. When he writes me and when we write him, he's always expressed a willingness and an eagerness to become part of the community. And in fact, we've kind of feathered this bed, as it were, because we've made provisions for him on our part to be a part of the work that we do here in the clinic, and also the work that we do for the outreach of men and women who are going through some of the same struggles that he has faced. So he's eager, and we're eager to have him. Yes, he's ready.
Dr. Johnson, can his daughter, who spends a lot of time speaking and visiting him, I think she's sitting next to you, can you ask her to speak? Would you say? Would you identify yourself, daughter?
Good afternoon. My name is Takia Braxton Harwick.
Tell us about your dad. You were a little girl when I was representing him in the 80s. Tell us about him, and tell us about his change.
Can you guys just bear with me for a couple seconds because I didn't write anything down? I didn't write
Welcome to
nothing down. I want to come here this morning to speak about my dad, but also somebody who I call my best friend. My dad missed out. I'm 45 years old. My dad missed out half of the time of my life. By him being away, we never lost contact. We kept in touch. Words can't even describe the person my dad is. He missed out on a lot of my life, a lot of my life. But today I'm going to speak on last year. Last year we discovered my son, who's next to me, he was diagnosed with cancer. So my son had to go to chemo, radiation, and my dad, every day, somebody that's incarcerated, told me, hang in there. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna get through this. Somebody who's been in jail for most of my life is telling me this. I lost my home. I had to get my business. But my dad, who I call my best friend, who he know everything about, relationships, everything. He gave me the strength to hang in there, to take care of my son, to get through that difficult time last year. He's just not my dad. He's my best friend.
Do you recommend his release, Ms.
Yes.
Brack?
Yes. I asked that my dad get a second chance at life. He missed out on so much. But he still have a chance if you guys give him a chance. Every day he called me to tell me I wanted to give up. I didn't know how to go alone. I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know how to take care of a sick child. I didn't know how to do that. Everything happened unexpected. He went to the dentist. Next thing you know, he had surgery for 17 hours. It was hard. But from my dad, my best friend, he got me through that difficult time of my life. And I would never forget it.
Thank you, Ms. Braxton. Is there anyone else there who wants to say a word? They have very limited time. The board is very busy. Is there anyone else?
Yes, good morning. Pastor James Lovett is my name, and I met Brother Hardwick when we did a prison visit to other inmates in our prison ministry. And I would say over the last 5, 6 years, it has been encouraging to visit him in that setting, to listen to true stories, and also to talk in the visiting sessions with men that have seen him at work and have leaned on him. I was a stranger to him. He was a stranger to me. And we were so convinced, not only of his remorse, but his quality of care while he was incarcerated and needed care. In light of that, what we've agreed to do, if you all are led, and we hope you are, to allow him to return to the community. We're making ways of allowing him to be a part of the clinic as a real life example and employee of helping people. We have a great support system in place. We've had others to be released, and we've kept our hands on them. I mentioned earlier this morning to the daughter and grandson and Dr. Johnson, just on Sunday, a young man came with his mother who had been 25 years incarcerated. And he came to say thank you. And more than that, he came knowing that there was a faith community that embraced those who took an interest in another chance. And so we hope to be able to help our brother. And I think what's exciting about it, we're able to connect with his family here, that we will be in her life, her grandson's life, to the duration of their lives or my life. So the chain is firm, and we pray that it will be an experience once he's outside of the prison, as it has been with him being inside of the prison. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Pastor. Finally, his attorney, me, Sam Stretton. I knew Herbert. I represented him during the murder trial. I have maintained a good relationship with him. I have been extremely impressed. When I first met him, he was riddled with drug addiction and misconduct. He found his way through the Christian belief and made a major change in his life, which amazed me. And he has continued that and continued in service with others. I do a lot of compassionate releases for the Prison Society, as Miss Boyette knows, and I've been extremely impressed with Herbert Hardwick's involvement with men in the prison who are dying, and he works as almost like a cancer nurse in the infirmary at night times and helping them. In all the years, and I've represented hundreds of people convicted of murder, I have never been more impressed with Herbert Hardwick. So I come here as his lawyer, but really as his friend and a witness. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your testimony. And with that, any questions from board members?
I have none. Thank you.
Just to let the board know that ADA, Sarah Boyette from Philadelphia.
I'm sorry, I had questions. I didn't know if Dr. Williams or Mr. Gubernick did, but I had a few questions.
I have none. Thank you. I have none either, General.
Okay, thank you. Just for Mr. Stretton, a couple quick questions to try to understand. Could you tell me what was the defense put forth at the jury trial?
Because it's been 40 years ago, and I've tried.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
The defense was mainly he was extremely intoxicated with addiction, and after he committed the crime, he went to a church, a street church, and actually confessed his misconduct there. And it took, as you know, Attorney General, addiction's not a straight line. It's an involved process. Herbert was extremely addicted. And it took a long while for his brain and mind to straighten out and accept the full and complete responsibility. That didn't occur during the trial, obviously, but afterwards. And then he got very much involved with the chaplain and the prison and prison ministry, and that turned his life around. So the answer is, if you look just at the fact that he defended himself at the trial, that's not the true Herbert. The person I know is the one who changed, where the addiction finally lifted, the fog of addiction is gone, his religion has sustained him, and he is a very different person.
Yeah, and I don't mean to suggest, I think everybody's entitled to a trial. I would never hold that against anybody. I'm just trying to figure out if the defense put forth was, I wasn't there, and the confession was it made up by the police, or if it was, I was there, but I was extremely intoxicated, or if it was, I was there, but it was, I didn't cause this, my co-defendant. So I was trying to figure out, if you recall, which of those three was the defense at trial?
Well, I have to, and maybe it's old age with me at 75, but I have to say, I don't remember. I've tried.
Okay, that's okay.
Under jury trial, murder trials since then. I just remember his addiction, and he wasn't at the time willing to accept full and complete responsibility. If I recall, though, I think it was more like a self-defense type of argument. But I might be wrong. You have to
Okay.
interpret that. I just don't remember all the details. What I remember is extreme addiction and the change and how he kept changing, and which amazed me. And then after that, he never turned back, which is rare. I see a lot of people who change and then, then go back to their old ways. Herbert never did that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So forgetful though, but
That's okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just wanted to see if you recalled. Thank you. I have no other questions.
I'm sorry, but it's what he's done afterwards, in my mind, is the reason why you should give him a second chance.
Attorney General Henry, I can answer that question. I think I've read the notes of testimony more recently than Mr. Stratton. So that would be helpful.
Thank you.
I would say that the defense theory at trial was the closest to the third scenario that you mentioned. I think Mr. Stratton is right that the intoxication was a key part of the defense. Mr. Hardwick's confession, both initially to the pastor and then subsequently to several members of law enforcement, occurred when he was intoxicated, and I think that was fundamentally understood.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm just having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
Okay.
I apologize.
I'm gonna hold this up. It's pandemic style. Okay. So Mr. Hardwick, when he confessed, was intoxicated, and so he did not implicate in his initial confession a third party, but the police had earlier heard from Mr. Hardwick years earlier that another party was responsible, and that's who I think in Mr. Hardwick's clemency application he again points to as a co-defendant. At trial, though, the theory was that somehow in the midst of his intoxication, his confession had been garbled and had been misunderstood. And so that what he was actually confessing to was having robbed and assaulted the victim, possibly on a different occasion, possibly to a lesser degree. And so that this was a misunderstanding of his confession that, was used to clear this homicide case, and that he was simply pointing to the homicide in order to make the police understand who he was talking about having previously done. And so that was the defense at trial. This case was pursued as a capital case. And so I think at the penalty phase, there was a sort of moving forward from that. That's what I perceived in the notes of testimony, and I'm happy to send those along if that would be helpful.
Yeah, that might be helpful. I appreciate the offer. Are you aware, I think what I heard you say is his confession came when he was already incarcerated to the police, his confession to the police. Is that what I heard you say?
Oh, that may be my misspeaking. So my understanding of the sequence of events is that the victim is found dead, and then the case fundamentally goes cold. About 2.5 to 3 years later, Mr. Hardwick, I think, speaks to Pastor Lovett, and then subsequently calls the police himself and confesses to the uniformed officers who come to get him, and then he's taken to homicide detectives and then repeats his confession to the homicide detectives.
Understood. And I understand that he was being looked at or involved. There was a undercover who was, there might have been some recordings for other criminal activity around this time as well, involving Mr. Hardwick. Is that accurate?
So there was evidence introduced at trial, I believe from the federal case, where Mr. Hardwick was not a defendant or a target, to the best of my knowledge. I think it was like a postal fraud, really sort of adjacent collateral matter. And as a result of that investigation in that case, Mr. Hardwick ended up being recorded by a recording device in the federal investigation. So that was a part of a separate matter, but I've never heard or seen anything that suggests that he was ever arrested, charged, investigated for any of those activities. But that evidence did come in.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions, but it would be wonderful if we could get or I could get a copy of the notes of testimony from the
I
trial.
will email those to the Secretary of State.
I appreciate that. Thanks so much for appearing.
Sure.
Thank you. I don't have any additional questions. And with that, we can move on to the next case.
Thank you.
Mute. Hello, everyone. For Mr. Drose's case on connected to the meeting, we have Superintendent Salomon from SCI Rockview, Attorney Richard Shore on behalf of Mr. Drose, and also Sarah Boyette remains on the line from the Philadelphia DA's office.
Okay, great. Do any of them wish to make a statement before the board at this time? Not. Are there any questions from board members for any of these individuals?
I have no questions, Governor.
I have no questions.
No question.
I have no additional questions either, and with that, we can move on to the next case.
There are no speakers logged on in behalf of Ms. Pensiel except for CCPM Michael Cole from SCI Cambridge Springs.
Any questions for the superintendent?
No, sir.
Nope.
No, Governor.
No, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to the next case. Kevin Coleman.
Just 1 second, we're pulling in Mr. Coleman's supporters, and Superintendent McGinley from SCI Cole Township has remained here to also participate. We're good? Okay, and having joined the meeting, we have Mr. Coleman's family members, Sean Poole and Davida, I'm so sorry, your last name got cut off. Can you say it? Wallace. And also Juanita Nixon. No. Okay, if you guys have anything to say to the board, you can go ahead.
I just want to thank the honorable board members today for allowing me to speak on behalf of my father, Kevin Coleman. First and foremost, I would like to send my deepest condolences to the family and the victims of the family, which must be respected throughout this process. I am Davida Wallace. I've been wanting this whole time, most of my life, to write this letter in the support of my dad in hopes that the honorable board members pardon him and consider my father for commutation today. Along with countless others, my community will provide housing, a job for my father, if granted the privilege of being released. Also, we have set in place violence prevention programs throughout the city of Philadelphia, which my dad will work hand in hand with. Organizations such as Before Our Sons Shoot, who we are currently involved with on a day-to-day basis. We also plan to set up organizations with Mothers Against Gun Violence, Mad Dads, it's a nonprofit organization based out of the city of Pittsburgh. We have a lot of tools set in place for my dad, if granted. Nevertheless, the victims will be honored. in everything that my fathers do moving forward. I just would like to take the time to say thank you for this opportunity, and this is a privilege that my dad understands for him to have this day today. And I would like to thank Governor Josh Shapiro, Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis, along with the DOC administration and the honorable board members here today. I would like to say thank you for just giving us the opportunity to be here on behalf of the Coleman family and the city of Philadelphia. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon to all. My name is Sean Poole. I'm the son of the late Linda Poole, which is Kevin's sister. I'm here to speak on behalf of Kevin Coleman. For the past 37 years, I've been driving to Gratisford, Huntington, Dallas Penitentiary with my grandparents until I became the driver. What I know on this journey, Kevin has recommitted himself to change with organizing sport programs like baseball, basketball, in which he was highlighted years ago on the Randall Cunningham show for the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe Kevin has embodied reform, remorse, and the ability to change and inspire the youth to make better decisions. I'm committed to helping Kevin seek employment by utilizing my 30+ year expertise in employment placement. I have the ability to assist Kevin to adjust to the workplace and enhance his abilities in today's world. I appreciate everyone who let me speak on behalf of my family, my 90-year-old grandmother, which is Kevin's mother, the community, and I believe Kevin has the ability to make an impact if he's granted clemency. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions from board members?
No, Governor.
No, thank you.
Thank you. I don't believe there's anybody else, correct, Madam Secretary?
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, the Philly DA's office is on the line for this hearing as well, in case anybody has any questions for them.
No questions. I don't think ADA McDonald, but anything you wish to add?
Nothing to add, but I am happy to be available to answer any questions the board might.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to the next case. Shelby Zablotny.
So for this hearing, we're going to be admitting Dr. Baker, who is a supporter of Mr. Zablotny. We are also going to admit James Thompson, who is the brother of the victim in this case. And of course, Superintendent McGinley has remained here to answer any further questions the board may have.
Mr. Thompson, was there anything you'd like to say to the board?
Can we talk to Dr. Baker first? We'll help Mr. Thompson get his audio.
Dr. Baker, would you have a statement you'd like to say to the board?
No, thank you for having me here. I submitted a statement. My request is that Shelby be given every consideration for his commutation application. I think he's ready to be reintegrated into his family, into the community, and I've committed myself to work with him should that application be approved.
Thank you. We're still working on Mr. Thompson's audio.
Okay. I'm not sure how this proceeds, if you ask questions or I just keep rambling or whatever.
No, it doesn't seem that there are any questions from board members. So with that, you can be excused.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I can't hear Mr. Thompson. I don't know if.
Mr. Thompson appears to still not have audio. Would you like us to give him a call and we can kind of do it that way?
Yeah.
Hi, James. Okay,
So on the line, we have Mr. Thompson.
How you doing? Good, Mr. Thompson. Would you, is there anything you'd like to say to the board regarding Mr. Shelby Zablotny?
Yes.
Please proceed.
Okay. I know. Is I'm allowed to throw some things in that I just found out from my sister about the day before this whole thing happened, and then proceed on my feeling on Mr. Shelby.
Yeah, you could tell us whatever you want to tell us.
Okay. Start off. How everybody doing?
Good.
Okay. My sister. I was talking to my sister because we be getting little notices for Mike Crosby and so I asked my sister what's her feeling on this with Shelby and Mike, and she said she'd never forgive Mike because the day before the incident, Mike Crosby, Tony Tate, and another guy was with my brother Demetrius. They went to pick my sister up from the grocery store, help her take her groceries up, and she made them tacos. They smoked, they drank, they listened to music, they laughed, and they played around. And then the next morning, Mike kills my brother. So, with that being said, there's no way he could have had nothing to do with that at that time, because I believe it was premeditated between them three guys, because they were just with my brother, sharing a laugh, a coke, and a smile. Now, whatever part Mr. Shelby could have played or played in it, I don't know. I wasn't there. I think 20 years was way too much for him to still be in prison for not even being there. I don't know his role in there. I know he's a good guy. And we was friends before it happened. We grew up in the church together. You know, he out-sing me, but it's all right. And we reunited our friendship in prison. And I know that his heart is genuine, and he got something special that the world need. They need this out here, especially these young guys right now, because it's hard to try to grab these young men today and say, come to church, learn this, when the pastor ain't really been through the life. I know whatever part he played in, he's sorry. And I want to say this, that me, my brother, and my sister, we forgive him for whatever role he played in it. And we, all three of us, want him to come on home, because he missed out on a lot of his children's lives, so he can be a big part in his grandkids' life. So if this helped any, we forgive him, and we want him to come home.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Are there any questions from board members?
I don't have any. Thank you.
I don't, thank you.
I have no questions.
No questions.
Well, thank you, Mr. Thompson. And with that, you're free to go.
Lieutenant Governor Davis, another member of the victim's family has connected to this hearing, brother Kareem Thompson. So we would like to connect him.
Yes.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Oh, great. Well, you're on with the Pennsylvania Board of Pardons, so feel free to tell us whatever you want to tell us.
Okay, well, I was locked up, and when the thing happened or whatever, and I was upset or whatever, but I had called home, and my brother told me that he was up Alba, and he had a conversation with Brother Sablotny and everything or whatever, and like I was listening to what my brother said, and I feel the same way. I mean, I talked to the brother on the phone a couple times, and he seemed genuine. And like my brother said, that like the things didn't add up, like he wasn't there. So I wouldn't even, I wouldn't blame him. I can't blame him, and I feel the same way, like what my sister said, and But I'm gonna tell y'all this. This is what I did. I wasn't there, so I had a problem with it. I ain't gonna lie, I did have a problem with it. So, and I took it. I'm gonna tell y'all something that I never told nobody. I took it out on his son, not in no aggressive way, nothing like that. Just by the name. I didn't know him because I was still locked up. But when I was locked up for them 12 and a half years, I was looking at the newspapers and I was reading the newspapers and I see the sports and I see and I seen that name pop up. So when that name popped up, that triggered something in my head that it wasn't fitting right with me. So as time go on, and so. And now his son is probably one of the best athletes that ever come out of Erie, Pennsylvania. But I was just so mad at the situation, not knowing what happened, just people telling me what happened, but me not knowing. So I took it out on his son. Like he was doing so great. Like all my nephews and everybody was in the papers. I cut they little clippings out, and I never touched his. I'm not gonna lie, I never touched his. I said, I was a little mad, but. We had a little thing in our jail that they had these speakers out of town speakers come to our jail up in Fayette, and lady from Pittsburgh, and she said they asked have anybody have a family member has been killed by some street violence or whatever and stuff like that. I was always you never supposed to sit in the front of the room, so I was in the first, and to make it so bad, I was in the first seat in the front of the room, and. So people was like, put their hands up because I had her hand up. So she picked me. And from that day forward, she changed my life with her story. And that made me change my things about his son. So from that day forward, every time, I get a clipping out the paper, I get his son's because I say his son wasn't even born. She was pregnant with him when it happened. And I took it out on him. But to say something else, that I ran into his son probably like 2 years ago. I know I ran into his sister first. She was working at this bar, and I ran into her. I didn't know who she was. Never seen her before, nothing like that. But she was looking at me, like, you look like somebody that I know or whatever. So I told her who I was, and so she told me her last name. So I was like, you know who I am? I said, my last name, Thompson. She was like, no. I said, your brother is supposed to be in jail for killing my brother. And she was like, oh, wow. And I seen her change her thing. So I tell her to call his son. Just tell him you want him. Don't tell him it's me because I don't want him to be scared off or anything like that. So she called him. He comes to the bar, him and his girl and somebody else. And I walked up to him, introduced myself to him. I said, you don't know me, but I know you. And I did something I shouldn't have did. I took something out on you that you don't have nothing to do with. I said, my brother, I said, I'm Coke's brother, Demetrius' brother. And I seen he got low. I said, no. I said, no, I ain't on nothing. I ain't on nothing. I said, I'm coming here to let you know that no, I don't think your dad did anything the against my brother. And I'm letting you know that any times that I ever said something to you before I came home, I promise you right now, they ain't gonna never say nothing else to you about it no more. And then me and him got a good relationship. Then me and his son got in a good relationship. We used to go out and play basketball. We talked. And then like 2 weeks later, after I meet him, his mom had passed. So I haven't seen him in a while, but I seen him probably like 2 weeks ago at the gym. You know, I gave him a hug and everything. But all I'm saying is that I feel like my brother felt like 20 years is too much. I mean, I don't think he did it, you know. And if it's anything, I will want to see him home, you know, from the bottom of my heart. I'm a guy, and like if it was me, it was his. If I did that, if I was did something to him, I was wanting him to say the same to me, let me out or whatever, because you know I don't think he did it, and I'm riding with my brother. Whatever decision my brother made or my sister, I'm riding with it, and you know so. And I think he's a great guy. I talked to him. Yeah, like my brother said, he sung this song that he wrote about my brother, and it had me crying as well. So, and you know, my brother genuine. He say he's genuine. So, I'm riding with that situation too. That decision he made too as well.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. Are there any questions from board members?
I have no questions.
I have no questions. Thank you.
I have no questions.
No questions, thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. With that, you're dismissed, and you can excuse yourself.
All right, y'all have a blessed day.
Take care.
All right.
And I believe with that, we'll move into an executive session.
Okay, if you guys could just give me 1 minute to clear the room on this side.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Secretary, thank you.
Thank you. This session of the Pennsylvania Board of Pardons is now in session. The Honorable Austin Davis, Lieutenant Governor presiding.
Thank you all for being back here. We'll call to order this virtual session of the Pennsylvania Board of Pardons. We will first take up under agenda item 4 the public vote for 8 calendar cases that have been heard today. So with that, I'll direct the secretary to begin the process of recording the public vote on the 8 public hearing cases.
Thank you, Governor. Abraham Cruz was continued in the matter of Wayne and Battle. Ms. Grayson.
Yes.
Dr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Gubernick.
Yes.
General Henry.
Yes.
Governor Davis.
Yes.
Application recommended. Larry Stevenson. Ms. Grayson.
No.
Dr. Williams.
No.
Mr. Gubernick.
No.
General Henry.
No.
Governor Davis.
Yes.
Application denied. Herbert D. Hardwick.
Secretary, I make a motion to hold this matter under advisement for additional information.
I would say.
Thank you for the motion and for the second. Application held under advisement. Case number 5, Raphael Droz. Ms. Grayson.
No.
Dr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Gubernick.
Yes.
General Henry.
Yes.
Governor Davis.
Yes.
Application denied.
Madam Secretary, just quick question. Did we need to take a vote on the motion to hold the?
Oh, sorry, you're right. I did need a vote on that motion. Let's go back to number 4. Having heard a motion and having seconded, I will call a vote on the held under advisement. Ms. Grayson.
Yes.
Dr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Gubernick.
Yes.
General Henry.
Yes.
Governor Davis.
Yes.
Application held. We've just called the vote on number 5. Number 6, Amy B. Penseal. Ms. Grayson.
No.
Dr. Williams.
No.
Mr. Gubernick.
No.
General Henry.
No.
Governor Davis.
No.
Application denied. Kevin L. Coleman. Ms. Grayson.
I believe There's a motion to hold this under advisement.
I'll second it.
Having heard a motion by Ms. Grayson and seconded by Attorney General Henry, I'll call a vote on the motion. Ms. Grayson?
Yes.
Dr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Gubernick?
Yes.
General Henry?
Yes.
Governor Davis?
No.
Application held under advisement. Shelby W. Zablotny, Ms. Grayson?
No.
Dr. Williams?
No.
Mr. Gubernick?
No.
General Henry?
No.
Governor Davis?
No.
Application denied. Governor, this concludes the vote for the May 17th, 2024, 11 a.m. session of the Pennsylvania Board of Pardons.
Thank you. Is there any old business?
Yes, Governor. Kevin F. Coleman was heard by the board at the August 3rd, 2023 afternoon session. A vote was taken and passed 3-2 to hold his case under advisement to further discuss the case. I will now call for the vote. Ms. Grayson?
Yes.
Dr. Williams?
No.
Mr. Gubernick?
No.
General Henry?
No.
Governor Davis?
Yes.
Application denied. Governor Ezra Bozeman was denied by the board on October 13th, 2023 in the afternoon session by a vote of 0-5. Mr. Bozeman requests the board to reconsider its decision and grant him a public hearing. A motion is required, and if seconded, I will call for a vote. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a second, I will vote on the motion. Ms. Grayson?
Yes.
Dr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Gubernick?
Yes.
General Henry?
No.
Governor Davis?
Yes.
Motion passes, and I will call a vote on the merit review. Ms. Grayson?
Yes.
Dr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Gubernick?
Yes.
General Henry?
No.
Governor Davis?
Yes.
Hearing granted. I believe, Governor, you wanted to talk about the next case, Ms. Stallworth?
Yes. So for folks' information, Gail Stallworth was heard by the board at the October 13th, 2023 session and was recommended to the governor. After the vote, it came to light that there was input from a member of the victim's family, which should have been available to the board prior to the vote. Accordingly, I've directed that the record be reopened to allow the board to consider the application with the full required information and not as a reflection of the merits of the case. The victim advocate will now read the victim's statement. Following that, the board will take a new vote on the application.
OVA, if you could go ahead.
Ms. Langone, can you hear me? Can you hear us? We can't hear you though.
In order to keep things moving, I could read the statements into the record if that would be okay with the board.
Yes, that's fine.
The Office of the Victim Advocate spoke to the family member of Ms. Stallworth's victim, Grace Schreiner, who is the aunt of the deceased victim. There were 2 conversations with Ms. Schreiner, and they were both documented into a memo, which I will read into the record. On December 14th, 2023, the Office of the Victim Advocate made contact with Grace Schreiner, aunt of the deceased Donald Stoker. OVA discussed Ms. Stallworth's Board of Pardons application and its current status awaiting Governor Shapiro's signature. Ms. Schreiner's immediate reaction to the news of the application was, "How do I stop this?" On behalf of the family, she's adamantly opposed to clemency in the case. Mrs. Schreiner stated that she's prepared to get on a plane tomorrow to appear in Harrisburg to oppose the application. She was distraught that she had missed the opportunity to provide input to the Board of Pardons in her own voice at the public hearing. She wants you to know that her nephew, Donald, was harmless. He had developed a drug problem that made him act like a zombie. He was very impressionable and would go anywhere and do anything his mother or brothers told him to. It was as if he just didn't have a sense of anything. He was not violent to anyone, and Ms. Schreiner states that he was most likely just standing there with this catatonic look of his on his face. She finds it hard to believe that Donald was violent towards or a threat to Mrs. Stallworth. Before the drug problem, Donald had an amazing talent for art. He could draw anything, no lessons or classes. It was all just natural to him. He could have produced so much beauty for this world, but he was never able to. Donald was shot in the face. No one deserves to die like that. Ms. Schreiner begs and pleads with you, Governor Shapiro, to make sure justice is done here. She's asking that all of her friends and family pray for justice for her nephew, Donald. Pray that this woman is not to be released. She thanks you for your time and consideration in this matter, and she's willing to answer any questions that you may have. She said as if there's anything more she can do to say or prevent this from happening, that you please give her the opportunity to do so. An earlier statement, which is much similar. Ms. Schreiner stated that the applicant asked to use her sister's phone. Her sister, always willing to help someone in need, allowed Ms. Stallworth into her home, where she proceeded to rob them. Ms. Schreiner said her sister did not have any money and struggled herself financially. When her sister failed to provide money that she did not have, Ms. Stallworth shot Donald in the face. Ms. Schreiner said that they had to have a closed casket at the funeral due to the extensive damage caused by being shot at close range. Ms. Schreiner spoke of the abject horror and trauma her sister experienced by witnessing her son Donald murdered in front of her. Ms. Schreiner is adamant that the board understand her nephew Donald struggled with drugs that left him docile and, in her words, near catatonic. She said that he was not a violent person and would not have struggled or put up a fight. She wants the board to know that her nephew did not deserve to die in such a violent way and that a drug problem should not diminish the value of his life. Ms. Schreiner is opposed to clemency for Gail Stallworth. Governor, with that statements being read, I will now call for a new vote. Mrs. Grayson.
Yes.
Dr. Williams.
No.
Mr. Gubernick.
No.
General Henry.
General Henry.
I'm sorry, yes.
Thank you. Governor Davis.
Yes.
Application denied. Governor, this concludes the old business for today.
Any comments from board members?
No, Governor.
No, Governor.
No, Governor.
Well, with that, the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.